Today on Monkey Life, Alison and wildlife vet John are in Vietnam to examine two baby Douc Langurs, both victims of poachers.
Right then, little fella.
One of the tiny pair needs to be checked over for gunshot wounds.
It doesn't mean much, but I can't feel a pet. You know, you can often feel a pet that's a hard lump, mobile under the skin.
Plus, the team are preparing for a groundbreaking Gibbon release that has been 3 years in the making. This is Dao Tien Rescue Centre in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
It's a new forest with a new family group of gibbons coming, and hopefully everybody will grow up and mature together.
It's a 6,000-mile journey from the UK to the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam in Southeast Asia. A land of staggering natural beauty and cultural complexities, of large dynamic cities and hill tribe villages. But like many countries in the region, Vietnam has struggled with the illegal trade in wildlife. Poaching and smuggling are commonplace, and the law is difficult to enforce. But away from the hustle and bustle of the metropolis lies Dao Tien, a rescue, rehabilitation and release centre set up to combat the effects of the black market wildlife trade. Lying within Cat Tien National Park, the island reserve in the Dong Nai province has been successful in rescuing a large number of endangered primates, including golden-cheeked gibbons, black-shanked Douc Langurs and pygmy loris. Set up with the full support of the Vietnamese authorities, it was the brainchild of Monkey World's animal director, Dr. Alison Cronin, and her late husband Jim, the park's founder. It's now run by Dr. Marina Kenyon.
Dao Tien's been here now for 12 years, just focusing on the primates for South Vietnam, so the gibbons, the loris, and the leaf-eating langurs. Our main mission is to support the government so they can enforce the law and we'll take confiscated animals, but then most importantly, develop protocols to get those individuals back in the forest. We've done really well with Doucs, we've done really well with loris. It's been hard work, but we've got there, so now it's a real focus on the gibbons. But nothing in life is easy.
With around 56 hectares to help them achieve their aim, the team at Dao Tien have had great success recently. More than 60 pygmy loris have been released back into the trees and forests of Vietnam. But they've had mixed results when it comes to releasing golden-cheeked gibbons, and their numbers at the centre continue to rise. Marina's partner, Lee Butler, is the manager of Dao Tien.
This is our phase 1 area, and this is sort of where we bring all the animals in that we rescue, and we have to rehabilitate them. We have to get them back to full health. So we have 10 cages for the golden-cheeked gibbons. We have 20 cages for the loris. And also further out, we have 4 semi-free enclosures. And that is vital to the project because we have to train our primates to life back in the trees before we do any releases.
The Phase 1 animals are kept in secure enclosures. These are gibbons in the process of rehabilitation, or who will never be fit or well enough for release in the wild. The rest of the gibbons live in the Phase 2 semi-free areas on the island. These cover more than 20 hectares and help the gibbons get used to life in the trees before release. But being on an island limits their ability to range, so the team need to supplement their diet daily. Along with Marina and Lee, there are 10 Vietnamese staff dedicated to feeding and caring for the primates. 2 of their recent charges are Anthony and Me. These tiny baby Douc Langurs arrived separately at Dao Tien 3 months ago. Both have had a difficult and tragic start to life, losing their mums to poachers. Anthony is a little bit older than me and was very weak when he came to the centre. He had gunshot wounds to his left arm, which are still causing him problems. He's going to be the first patient on wildlife vet John Lewis's list when he arrives at the centre from the UK with Alison. Anthony's companion, Me, arrived in different but no less tragic circumstances.
So Me was taken as an infant, sold into the pet trade, and then as a tiny, tiny little baby, 2-month-old baby, released back into the forest. There's no way on earth she could have survived. So luckily or unluckily, she was actually hunted again, came out of the forest, and this time another man bought her, and as soon as he got her, he phoned us and said, look, this little Douc. So we actually took her in straight away. So she's had a really, since that moment that her mum died and she lost her mum, she's had a lot going on.
Since arriving at Dao Tien, both baby Doucs have grown stronger, and this unrelated duo have become the best of friends. Me absolutely adores Anthony.
She holds on to him, she uses him like mum. She wants him to carry her, he's her comfort blanket. Anthony's everything to me, so I need to get him big and strong to make sure he can deal with this.
To improve the pair's general health and condition, and to teach them how to behave like Douc Langurs should, Lee and Fung, their surrogate mums for now, give the babies daily lessons in tree climbing.
Right then, little fella. We take them out into the forest. So we do an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon. And yes, they're still young, but we have to get them in trees. You know, it's what we're about. These are monkeys. They're not to be sat in a cage. We have to get them back in the forest. So this is vitally important. And the staff that take them out there climb the trees with them. They will take selective leaves and eat the leaf in front of them. They are primarily leaf eaters, so the whole process of what we're doing with the Doucs is just quite simply amazing with the guys we have.
The ultimate goal of the centre is to release the majority of primates they rescue back into the wild. It's one of the reasons Alison and vet John Lewis have made the long journey to the centre from the UK. It's been 3 years since a pair of golden-cheeked gibbons were released back into the forest, and now the team are ready to try again. But it's a big challenge.
The gibbons are a different kettle of fish. They're a lot more difficult just based on their biology and ecology. They pair bond for life, in theory, and they're territorial. So they're quite aggressive to any neighboring groups of gibbons to make sure that they protect their home range, which has valuable food sources in the territory for them to bring up their families. They sing duets every morning, announcing their territory to other neighboring groups of gibbons. So to that effect, you've got to find perfect forest for them that's high quality with enough fruiting trees that they can feed themselves and future generations. It has to be a forest that isn't already occupied by wild gibbons because they'll go to war. And it also has to be an area that either has extremely good forest protection from the Kim Lam, the forest guards, or that has absolutely no hunting pressure. And quite frankly, you know, getting all of those characteristics together in one place, it's just nigh on impossible to find a perfect place to release gibbons. And that's why our gibbon releases have taken so much longer.
But Marina and her team have been working hard on the problem. Along with the forest rangers who protect the area, they've been conducting habitat surveys. This involves checking the density of fruiting trees and looking for wild gibbons in the vicinity. And the team have been feeling positive. There are 8 gibbons at Dao Tien ready to go. They include Limwin and Misu and their 2 young offspring. It's the main reason for Alison's trip. However, in the last few hours, the authorities at the national park have got cold feet about the gibbon family's release.
The solution would be to take one of the single ones and try it in there that isn't a prized family group that everybody's going to talk about. It's one animal. What do you think?
Finn could do it. She's fit enough, she's forest savvy enough, she's strong enough.
They're concerned about releasing an entire family of gibbons into the area, earmarked within the national park.
So a single animal to test the water is favorable than a whole family group.
Alison feels the answer is to release one healthy and extremely fit female gibbon. Bin has been in the semi-wild at Dao Tien for the last 3 years. She has a strong personality and will be more than a match for any wild male gibbon who may approach her. But to undertake this test release, they'll still need the permission from the head of the national park.
It's time to sort of grasp that nettle, follow through with what our plan was, and take a bit of a leap. But you know, these animals that you've cared for so long, their sort of future rests in your hands. So making these critical decisions for their future is quite a tough one. At the moment, who knows what's going to happen, but it's always, you know, you have to be flexible in these things. There's no point in having a rigid plan.
Monkey World's sister sanctuary, Dao Tien, plays a major part in protecting some of the most endangered species in Vietnam. With tourism on the rise, conservation is becoming a priority for the country, which now has more than 30 national parks. Sadly, many of the primates who arrive at the centre have had a tragic start in life and are in desperate need of expert care. Along with Alison, wildlife vet John Lewis makes frequent visits to Dao Tien. He performs health checks and small surgical procedures, often under difficult conditions. The heat and humidity are a constant part of daily life on the island. Today, he's going to examine the centre's 2 newest arrivals. Baby Douc Langurs, Anthony and Me arrived separately 3 months ago, both victims of poaching. Anthony had gunshot wounds to his arm.
We really want to get this hand checked. When he came, he couldn't use the arm, then he could use his shoulder, then he moved his elbow, then he moved his wrist, and then the hand clenched. So although it hinders him a little bit, he's adapting, but we want to get it checked out. It's vitally important that potentially there might be something we can do as a team, so we need to do that now.
John Lewis wastes no time putting Anthony under, using anaesthetic gas. There's always an element of risk with anaesthesia, but Anthony is only 8 months old, so John will need to work quickly. He checks for scars and lumps, which could be indications of gunshot pellets still under the skin.
It doesn't mean much, but I can't feel a pellet. You know, you can often feel a pellet. It's a hard lump, mobile under the skin. I can't.
There's nothing immediately obvious to John. Next, he checks Anthony's legs and hip flexion.
I'll get to the arms in a minute. Okay, let's look at this head for a moment. Sometimes, obviously, the pellets will come out. Well, the head's a big target, so...
Satisfied, it's time to take a look at Anthony's injured left arm, which has been causing him problems.
Huh. It's interesting. I think we do need x-rays. I want to look at the wrist, particularly. I'm not convinced there's any other shotgun pellet in there, Lee.
John is unable to make a full diagnosis until he sees an x-ray of Anthony's arm.
As things stand at the moment, the elbow has reasonably full range of movement, about 90%. That's good enough. The wrist, you can obviously see that the wrist, if you compare both wrists, this wrist is right, it's just like yours and mine. You know, it's all in line with the forearm. This one is not. In virtually any plane you look at it, perhaps that's the most obvious, it's not in line with the forearm. I think there's been an injury there. That would be interesting. We need the x-rays.
Anthony is microchipped and hair and blood samples are taken for analysis. Once the baby Douc Langer has come round from the anaesthetic, Lee can take him to fully recover.
Come on then, dude. Let's get you gone.
While his younger playmate Me has her health check. While John has been busy at the medical centre, Alison and Marina have been talking to officials at Dao Tien National Park and have received some exciting news. They've just been given the go-ahead to release female golden-cheeked gibbon Bin back into the forest.
We've got all of the tools to assess and to try this and see what she's gonna do. Catching up and bringing only one gibbon back to Dao Tien if we needed to is much easier than trying to capture and bring back an entire family group. So everybody's on board and agreed that we'll try releasing Bin. We'll keep a very close eye on her and see if she does what we're hoping, which is head off into the forest and find a wild mate to pair up with.
Bin was confiscated as an illegal pet and came to Dao Tien at a young age. She spent the majority of her time living in the trees of the semi-free area. Now about 10 years old, she's just going through her colour change, from black back to blonde, which may help her when released.
She's not the bright blonde female adult, so if she happens to bump into any neighboring groups, it's the females who often go to war, she won't look so threatening and intimidating because she still has a more adolescent-y coat. So Bin's ticking all of the boxes for us, so she doesn't realize it now. We've brought her back in from our forest enclosure, and she's now in one of our rehabilitation cages, phase 1 cages, because tonight we're gonna put the collar on Bin, and tomorrow morning she'll be heading out to our release site, and then in 2 days' time we're gonna let her go.
But to fit Bin's tracking collar and give her a final health check, John and Lee first need to anaesthetise her in the cage. John wants to make absolutely sure she's fit enough for release.
Hello.
The GPS collar is vital for the team to keep track of Bin during her first few months on her own in the wild.
We're hoping every Friday, our plan is to download the data from the collar. So we have the GPS data, so we know where the gibbons are moving. With this, we can establish how big their home range is, and importantly, the limits of their home range. Based on that, we can map and say, okay, where can we place the next group? Because we have 4 different social units to release. And we can make sure that they're a great enough distance, because gibbons, especially gibbon females, like to fight. There can't be 2 females too close. So by looking at the maps that this base station will download and provide, we can say, okay, we've got a 2-kilometre distance, and then we can find the right place for the second group. So they can hear the gibbons, but they're not too close that they want to go and have a fight.
Happy?
Lee manages to net Bin without causing her too much stress, enabling John to easily hand inject her. Then she's taken straight to the centre's animal hospital.
Right on the table, head down here.
Funky color.
Isn't she?
Straight away, John notices a problem with her teeth.
That's a dead incisor. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything about that.
Bit concerned about those 2.
It's a complication he's going to need to look at more closely. But the most important issue is to get the GPS collar fitted correctly and securely.
They must be tight enough so the animal can't A, get the collar off, and B, get branches or twigs or things stuck down between their neck and the collar. They must be loose enough to be comfortable and allow them to feed and vocalise and move, etc. So, yeah, there's a balance to be struck. And, you know, people don't collar gibbons every day. I don't think you want to go much further, Lee. No, that's flush.
No, it's good.
And that's a nice, comfortable fit. I don't think it'll come off.
Happy with the fit, next, John takes some blood samples for the records. He's impressed with Bin's fitness.
She's muscly.
Yeah, no, she's fantastic. She's like a little tank. She's an absolutely beautiful fit gibbon. Her muscles are just really strong. You know, it's just always concern and nerves. Is she ready? Is it gonna be okay? Is our release site perfect? Time will tell. We'll see how we go, but this is the whole purpose of Dao Tien, is rehabilitation and release, getting them back out into the wild. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep stacking them up in cages, and quite personally, I won't be doing that.
Fiddly little tooth, but...
Finally, John addresses the gibbon's dental issues.
The tooth is broken. Now, we could leave it, and she may go through life without any problem at all. Or you might get infection tracking up and coming out here on the face. You might get a small sinus. It's not as serious as a broken canine, but given that she's out, we'll just remove that dead tooth. There. And out she comes. Got it. Right, I'm happy to wake her up.
Microchip, just quick.
Yep.
Lee checks Bin's microchip is working, and then they quickly weigh her.
6.75, something like that.
Bin is put into her travel crate to recover, where she will remain until the morning, when the team will transport her to the release site.
In the box, she's awake now, quite calm, but she'll still have a lot of the drug on board. Now it's just a case of leaving her calm and quiet. In about an hour, Lee will come back and offer her some water and a little bit of food. Leave her here for tonight, tomorrow morning's early start, get her out to the forest.
Tomorrow isn't just a big day for Bin, it's massively important for Alison, Marina, and the team at Dao Tien too. This is what they've spent years working towards, and, if successful, could pave the way for many more gibbon releases in the future. Next time on Monkey Life, John and Marina head out from Dao Tien to take injured baby Douc Anthony for x-rays on the mainland.
It's good. Excellent. So now just focus on this little piece.
And the team take Bin deep into the forest for the first gibbon release in 3 years.